Scott, it's great to have you back on InvestorStream following your recent $9.4 million placement and the release of the updated investor presentation, which provides a bit more detail on the 4 proposed large-scale hydrogen plants to be located on the Australian eastern seaboard. Whilst you've announced some other collaborations since the raise, I'd really like to touch more on the development of the large-scale hydrogen plants and the progress that you're seeing here. So overall, can you just talk us through the activities that you have going on across all projects so we get a real sense of the work streams that are in progress?
Yeah, absolutely. So we've been doing a lot of work on hydrogen, and we can see the potential, particularly in the export market, and that for us is probably the main game. Australia will develop, I think, a very healthy market for hydrogen and will be a clear leader, but some of the Asian countries are slightly ahead of us, and because of their population, the size of the demand there could be extremely large. Hence, we put a lot of effort into looking at building 4 plants on the east coast of Australia. We've partnered with Liberty Hydrogen, and we've got a JV with them where we'll have 60%. We're looking at the 4 plants on different locations. So we've got 2 in Queensland, both being Project Mars in Mackay, Project Jupiter in Gladstone, and then Liberty North and Liberty South in New South Wales and Victoria, respectively. But one of the things we see and the forecasts are for by 2030, the amount of hydrogen required globally will be about 100 million tonnes. Right now, I'm struggling to see how we can actually supply all that demand. And then by 2050, the demand is expected to exceed 500 million tonnes. So there's strong demand, and we've got a lot of very key attributes in Australia, which gives us a lot of advantages. What we're trying to do is position the company for our shareholders as an early mover so we could take advantage of this large boom in hydrogen. And that's really what we're seeking to do. We do have other things in our kit bag in terms of our natural gas business that we're looking to develop. And there's multiple pathways where any particular project could be a company maker in their own right. So we're trying to give our company the maximum amount of opportunities so that we can grow this company into a very substantial enterprise and get rewarded in terms of market cap.
Okay, great overview, Scott. So can you just take us through the rationale of advancing 4 large-scale projects versus the development of just one?
Yeah, sure. Look, as I said, we did partner with Liberty Hydrogen. It was a deliberate move so that we could get scale, and we will get undoubtedly a lot of synergies by having multiple plants. The other thing, and inevitably, as much as we'd like that our projects will get approved and there'll be no issues, we've got a very cooperative relationship with governments, port authorities and local stakeholders. We do expect there'll be hiccups along the way. And by having plants in different jurisdictions on the East Coast, we're really hedging our bets as well, so that it gives us advantage of the play, but also if one particular project gets held up longer than we think, then we can move on with the other projects. And that's really what we see. But it also allows us to, there will be bottlenecks and constraints on how much hydrogen you can produce from any particular plant, certainly in the next number of years. So we see an advantage in having multiple plants that could supply not only domestically, but importantly, the export market.
Okay, so with that in mind, Scott, can you just give us a snapshot now of which of the 4 sites is advancing the fastest and why?
All 4 sites, we've done a lot of work, particularly around engineering. You would have seen that in a recent presentation that was published to the ASX. All sites have had some planning that has been done. We've been looking quite closely at all the particular issues required to get these plants built. Probably the site that we feel is more advanced than any other is Port Anthony. And the reason I say that is Port Anthony is actually a private port, where the other ports are owned by various government instrumentalities. And by their very nature, they tend to be quite bureaucratic in the way they deal with things and the way they can progress projects. So there's a lot of box ticking that has to be done. Saying that, they're all being very cooperative and helpful and very keen to see all those projects proceed. So at this stage, we don't have any red flags on what we see. If I had to pick one that was ahead of the pack, it'd be Port Anthony.
And finally, Scott, what are the near-term milestones for PH2 that we can really look forward to?
Firstly, we will be looking to engage with relevant authorities, particularly around our plans and trying to get feedback. We'll be doing a series of what we call pre-lodgement meetings before we actually lodge a formal submission to them, make sure that all their issues or concerns are dealt with properly and we maximise the chances that we could go ahead with each of the projects. Over the next period of time, we'll have regular updates on each of the projects. We'll certainly let shareholders and investors know where we stand on all of them. The other thing on a gas business, we're about to start flow testing on Venus 1. We think that could be a very material flow test. We're in the middle of the Walloon coals and we're surrounded by very big companies. All the major CSG companies are surrounding us and there's multiple pipelines. So any good result there will be very positive for us. We also believe that we'll be able to get a resource upgrade this quarter, and we're working to enable that. At the same time, particularly on the East Coast, there's been a renewed demand increases and certainly pricing is certainly firmed up in the last 3 months. I'm talking about gas prices. That's all positive dynamics for that business. The other project that is advancing is likely to do drilling this quarter, and it'll be probably late in the quarter, is the Sawawi project in Botswana. The joint venture partner is very interested in doing the drilling. They've been delayed because of COVID. Now those restrictions because of vaccines can proceed, and that looks like that will proceed this quarter. So, yeah, there's a lot of interesting things happening. On the domestic side, apart from our main hydrogen projects, we also have announced recently smaller projects, particularly the one with Synergen we're very excited about, and also MOU with Wildfire. And both of those, we're working very cooperatively with those organisations. We expect those projects to proceed and we should have hydrogen for the domestic market, where demand and inquiry is really starting to pick up. All in all, we're very positive about where things sit. I look forward to providing investors with further updates.
Scott, as always, really appreciate the update and we'll be chatting soon. Thanks for your time.
All right, terrific. Thank you.